Hi, good evening everyone. This is Paul Murphy, Irish Member of Parliament. Paul, give us some insight from our experience today.
I think on the one hand you see the attitudes of ordinary people right around the world who have solidarity with Palestine and want to do whatever they can to break the siege, end the blockade, allow the aid to flow. That's what the Global March to Gaza was about, and that resilience is what will ultimately free Palestine. On the other hand, unfortunately, we saw the approach of the Egyptian state, which is to do as Israel requested and to stop our peaceful march. We saw violence, significant violence being used, particularly against women, for people who were just sitting down and trying to march.
We were surrounded by the army. We were surrounded by the army eventually.
Serious numbers, and then when we at some stage, I don't know if you were there, we were on one of the last buses to leave, and there were still people who weren't going, and then the riot police came and were really violent.
They were pulling. Several people were pulling everyone, and just like herds. Yeah, it was like animal on herds. But anyway, what can the Irish Parliament do anyway, and the EU?
Yeah, well, I think the EU is. Look, let's be honest, the EU is absolutely complicit in the genocide, but now they will have the small words of criticism. But let's remember, Ursula von der Leyen on the 9th of October went to Israel and basically said you have a green light for the genocide and has been using that. Israel has preferential trade access to the European Union. It's basically treated like a European Union member in terms of trade. They get access to European public funds in lots of different ways, and that's on top of the direct funding that they get, the direct arms they get from Germany, from Italy, from the UK, from others. So the complicity needs to end. Israel should be kicked out of the EU-Israel Association Agreement. That agreement should be ended, and we really should have full boycott, divestment and sanctions on Israel. But even countries like Ireland, so Ireland is not as bad as the UK or the US or Germany, but it's still complicit, the Irish government.
What changes can we make? What changes can we really make?
So there's three very simple things in Ireland that we are pushing. One, so the Israeli war bonds are sold in the European Union on the basis of an authorization from the Irish Central Bank. That needs to stop. We shouldn't be authorising the sale of any war bonds. Secondly, thousands of tons of weapons continue to fly through Irish airspace without permission, illegally, and the Irish government has done nothing to stop it. They've known about it now for 9 months. And thirdly, we need to move to implement, there's a bill called a law, a draft law, called the Occupied Territories Bill, which means no more trade with the occupied territories, just the occupied territories, and the government is dragging its feet, is watering it down, etc.
They're complicit, basically.
Yes,
all of them put
they
together.
are all complicit, and that's why, the people are taking action because the governments are complicit. The people don't want to be complicit. That's what the Global March for Gaza is about. It's pressure on Israel, but also pressure on our own governments to end the complicity.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you.